Hi, this is Tianai Zhao. This video will be about my final infographic for Info 424 at University of Washington. The topic of my infographic was Yuzuru Hanyu, a famous Japanese figure skater. With this infographic, I'm attempting to communicate to the audience general information about Yuzuru Hanyu, his career achievements, and other significant highlights of his career. In this first section, I'm going to talk about visual potential and how it relates to my infographic. The first one is appearance potential. For my infographics, I use quite a few appearance display in the form of photos. The first display is the largest and has a bright orange tone compared to the rest of the displays. This display is a photo of Yuzuru Hanyu since he is my main topic of the infographic. This appearance helps the viewer recognize the skater if they know him, or simply indicate that this infographic is about a specific skater so that they can know who exactly I'm talking about. Besides this appearance, there are also a bunch of other photographs of him or people that has a close relationship to him. Since my topic is about a specific skater, by using realistic photographs will help people better understand the topic. In this part, I use the skate icons to tell people that the data is related to skating. I have also included two silhouettes here so that the appearance tells the viewer that the data is about the two key elements of figure skating, jump and spin. Since most people are able to relate these two silhouettes to figure skating, so overall these two silhouettes help to connect back to the main topic, figure skating, and provide more context for my topic. The second one is location potential. Here I show the skating routine of one of Yuzuru Hanyu's program. By using this location display, I was trying to answer the question, where did Yuzuru Hanyu do his jumps and spins on ice? Since most people's impression of figure skating is smooth and clean, by using this display, I want to show the actual movements on the ice rink, especially the complex skate route and different jump position to give viewer a better idea of the true figure skating program. The next one is number potential. I have three number potential in my infographic. The first one shows the total score across 5 different competitions in the past season. I use bar charts to showcase my number data, mainly because the bar chart structure allows viewer to use the comparison between different data directly. The second one is a display of the medal amounts. By combining the podium appearance display, this display clearly answers the question, how many medals has Yuzuru Hanyu gained in the past years? The last number display shows the success rate improvements in one of the particular jump. Here I use donut shape to emphasize the increment of the success rate, and by looking at this display, viewer can see the improving trend over time. The next one is relationship potential. Here I emphasize on the different relationship Yuzuru have in his skating career. Each objects are a person, and the line represents the relationship between that person with Yuzuru Hanyu. I use color encoding here to separate the 3 different kinds of relationship. I also place Yuzuru Hanyu at the center, since he is the link between different people in this display. The last one is time potential. For this display, I want to show different highlights and milestones of Yuzuru Hanyu's skating career. So here I'm mainly focusing showing the time sequence of different events. I order the events based on when they occur. I choose not to scale my timeline since most of the dates are approximate or cover a 2-year span, and also because what I really want to highlight is the information itself. I also explore the visual potential of appearance here to indicate the different stages of his career. The next section, I'm going to talk about encoding strategy that I use in my infographic. The first one is color encoding. In my location display, I use 2 different colors to highlight the 2 different elements. The green color means jump, and the orange color means spin. With this encoding, the 2 elements are clearly separated. In this number display, I also use color encoding to showcase the 3 kinds of medal, where gold medal is represented by orange color, and the silver medal is represented represented by the gray color, and the last metal is represented by color green. At least for the gold and silver metals, I try to encode them similar to the actual color of the metal so that it will make more sense to viewers. The second one is size encoding. In this one, I use different size of bars to showcase the total score of one particular competition. The longer the bar means the higher the score. In this one, I use different arcs to show the improvement in success rate. The longer the arc means a higher success rate. So for these two displays without seeing the actual numbers, viewers are able to identify the difference between the data. In my timeline display, I also use size encoding. Mainly, some of the bubble shapes are greater than the others. So as you can see in the highlights ones, these are events I want to drive more attention to. So instead of using different colors to highlight them, I chose to change the size of the shape to draw people's attention. The last one is position encoding. So in this one, I rank the total score from high to low. So the closer the bar is to the title line, then the higher the score is. In this one, I use this kind of podium shape. So this is similar to people's overall view about the podium during like a competition. So the first place, I mark the first place data, and then based on the podium position, I mark the certain medals. In this one, the inner part refer to the early data, while the farther outer circle refer to later data. By using this encoding, different time periods can be separated clearly and efficiently. In my timeline display, I use another position encoding strategy to encode this time. Time is encoded with relative precision, with further to the left meaning earlier events and further to the right meaning later events. In this section, I'm going to talk about how I use color in my infographic. This is the color model that I emulate from. In this infographic, there are a bunch of colors, but color green and orange are the domain colors and are also used to highlight and create contrast between different elements. This model doesn't use color to trigger associations. However, for background, it uses a gray drop texture to allow people to associate back to the drop topic. So I emulate this model, and as you can see in my final infographic, I use all the colors in my model but still keep green and orange as the domain colors. Total score is the section that I use green and orange to create a strong contrast. Before, I have 5 different colors in this section. However, referring back to my model, it really only used 2 colors to separate different elements. That's why I ended up with these 2 colors in this section to create the contrast and show the difference. In my timeline display, I mainly use the green color to highlight the different events. I didn't incorporate orange in here mainly because this is a single data set, and having 2 colors may let people to think I'm talking about 2 topics. As you can see in the rest of the sections, green and orange are mainly used to highlight some of the key numbers of information, just like my model. In my color model, the dark gray color is used as title test and body test, and that's what I end up with in my infographic. I have multiple color encoding in my infographic, same as my model. I also use orange and green to encode, as you can see in this location display. Green means jump and orange means Spain. I also use 3 different colors to encode the relationship part, so that each type of relationship is represented by 1 color. My infographic didn't have much color used to trigger associations. One thing I tried to do was to use the transparency gray to trace out the ice route. Since that color looked a lot closer to ice. Just like the drop background in my model, I also use a skating texture for my background to trigger more associations towards figure skating. Overall, since my topic is about one person, these colors help to create an informative and trusted feeling. The green color not only brings calm to my infographic, but also help to create a closer relationship with my skating topic. On the other hand, the orange really brings a lot of energy to this infographic. So overall, I think these colors set a comfortable but interesting tone for my infographic. As for color harmony, I think my color model is complementary type since the bright orange and green are almost on the opposite direction on the color view. In this section, I'm going to talk about text usage in my infographic. This is my typography model that I use for my work. In this model, there are mainly two fonts, Arial and Ditto. Arial is a sans serif font, while Ditto is a serif font. In this model, Arial is used mostly in the titles and subtitles, while all the labels were in Ditto and some of them are italic. Now, if we take a look at my work, I also use Arial Black in all of my titles, and all the titles for each section are uppercase, which is consistent with my model. In the relationship part, I use Arial Black to label the more important relationship type, and use Ditto to label each individual person, and they're also italic. For the rest of the section, I mainly use a combination of Arial Black and Arial Narrow to label the subtitles and the corresponding description. In my infographic, I use text to do a lot of labeling, and let's take a look at each section now. In this section, texts are identity labels since it identifies the meaning of the bars. The numbers, however, are precision labels, which tells the exact score of that competition. The text, I use leading lines to make it clear what they're labeling, and for the numbers, I use proximate strategy to make them clear for viewers. In this section, texts are identity labels that highlight the names and relationship types. I use proximate association strategy to label the name and use color association strategy to label the different relationship types. In this middle section, texts are again identity labels to identify the specific ranking. I use proximate to show what I'm trying to label here. In the success rate display, texts are identity labels to identify the time period, and the exact rates are precision labels so that people can understand the actual rates and better understand the improvements. Here I use leading line strategy again for the time period label and proximity for the precise number labels. In this location display, the labels are precision labels so that viewers are able to see the actual order of the sequence. Here I use a combination of color and proximate to make them clear enough to understand. In my timeline display, texts are identity labels that describe each image and use proximate strategy so that texts are close enough to the image to set up a good connection. The black texts are used to annotate detailed information at each point. In the next section, I'm going to cover visual hierarchy in my infographic. Visual hierarchy refers to variation in visual prominence of elements in a display. In my infographic, I use different strategy to create this visual hierarchy, mainly by using green and orange color contrast, bold title text, bigger main visual display. Overall, I'm hoping to make certain sections to stand out more. I use a horizontal display for my infographic, and since I don't really have much background color to use, I mainly focus on creating color contrast between different sections, so certain section will stand out more. The career section is something that I want to draw the most attention to. That's why I combine the use of main visual display with text that has different colors and font size to drive people's attention. Strong contrast color are also used in the bottom left section. Since these two sections are really easy to understand, I want to first draw viewers' attention. Overall, the title text are bolded, so each section is clearly separated, which also allow viewers to check out the information that they want to know in a more fluent flow. Besides that, I did add a light background shade to these two sections to better create the hierarchy structure so that each section is well separated and overall viewers won't feel like it's too jumping around. In the next section, I'm going to cover unity and variety. In terms of unity, throughout the infographic, I use similar shapes and colors and text to showcase the information. As people can see from the infographic, there are only two main shapes, round shapes and line structures. For colors, green and orange are the domain ones, which where gray and transparency green are for body text or for connecting lines. Besides this unity in my infographic, there's also variation to each element so that overall my infographic is very interesting. For example, in relationship and timeline display, I use different sizes of circle shapes so that certain elements can be more emphasized, but overall the consistent is still there. In terms of bar structure, there are different thickness. The different thickness really help to separate different sections. Secret lines usually contain more information, like the total score display, while thinner lines are used as connecting elements, as you can see in this timeline and relationship display. In this way, the similar appearance in each section help to convey the message clearer and maintain the good consistency, while the difference between the appearance help to identify different meanings and bring more excitement to the work. In my visual models, round shapes and line structure are the domain structure it has, and there are also variation in the size of the circles and the thickness of the lines. So I think in this sense, my infographic is similar to my model since we all use the similar shapes, though there is something different from my model. In my model, it is mostly straight line structures. However, in my skating routine, I have wavy lines here. I thought about doing straight lines. However, if that's the case, then the skating routine kind of lose its purpose and focus since skate route is usually have round turns. So I kind of combine the ideas of straight lines and round shapes so that overall it looks kind of different from my model and the rest of the infographic, but there's still some unity in there. I think I also try to create a color unity as my model. In my model, there are only three colors, and I use red and white as the main color, which create a great contrast feeling. In my color model, I have a lot of colors to choose, but overall, I still try to keep it simple and use the same color labeling throughout the infographic and choose green and orange as the two main contrast color. In this section, I'm going to talk about layout of my infographic. I organize my infographic into three big rows as you can see the different highlights I have here. Within each line, I further break them down into several columns for each section. I use both lines and blocks of color strategy to help me better formulate my layout. This strategy is also consistent with my layout model. Here, I separate each section with line below their title text. And for these two sections, I use a light color block so that within one row, the separation between different sections is also clearer. For the second row, I didn't use color block mainly because these two sections are mainly separated by the color already. In my infographic, each section kind of have the same size. That's why I use the line and color block strategy to strengthen the layout of my infographic. In my layout model, it also uses a straight row structure with multiple columns within each row. In this sense, we're similar. However, my layout model has more elements, so it breaks down into more sections. Also, in the model, some of the data are really simple, so they seem to have a smaller size, which make other part of the infographic stand out more. But my layout model also utilize a line and color block strategy to further enhance the layout structure. In this last section, I'm going to talk about alignment of my infographic. I use lines to highlight the alignment strategy I used in this infographic. Since I break my information onto three different rows, within each row, all the information are aligned at the top as well as the bottom. Within each section, most of them are aligned to the left end of that section, and some of the elements that spread the whole section also align with the right end of that specific section. I think by using this alignment strategy, overall, my infographic looks really clean and organized and create a coherence feeling since all elements are tied together under the same alignment strategy. The breathing room that I left in between each display not only helps it easier to read, but helps to create a better group structure. Here's my layout model, which I have also labeled the alignment strategy. As you can see, it is really similar to my infographic. It is also mostly aligned to the left end, and all the title texts are aligned as well. I think overall I follow the same rule of alignment as my model. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy my infographic.